Okay, 1, 2, 2, 2.
Yes, my name's Ian Coleman and I'm musical director of Taverham Band. Musical director, I've been musical director since 1992, so it's coming up for 20 years, and I was previously the assistant musical director at that point, and I was given the job say nearly 20 years ago. And basically I'm responsible for the musical standard of the band, the production of the concerts, individual technique, balancing the band, getting the best performance out of the members that we can, and basically responsible for delivering a whole series of programmes and concerts across the year around Norfolk. Well, it's straight. I've been in the band since I was a youngster. I actually learned to play with the band. So when I was at school, about 11 years old, my parents talked to me about the opportunity to learn a brass instrument, and I learnt at school, but also with the Taverham Junior Band, and they taught, as we still do, we teach youngsters to play, and I learnt through that, and then in 1978, I think it was, I moved to third cornet, and basically so I've worked my way right through the band, and say the last 20 years I've been musical director, so it's starting from the bottom and working upwards basically. I've just learnt through playing with the band, so conducting, I've had no tuition or coaching or conducting, it's all been picked up and from observing and watching others, so no official training. As a day job, if you like, my day job is working for the bank, so I'm in finance or that type of business, so it's completely different from doing the band. So a lot of similarities in some respects with managing a team of people and dealing with a team of people, and in fact it's often a lot harder when you've got volunteers and people aren't being paid, so it's it can create challenges.
My name is Neville Thrower. I'm retired now. I used to work for an insurance company, and I have many interests in my retirement, as you probably heard. But essentially I earn no money, I just enjoy my pension and do what I want to do. And of course a very important part of my life is my music, where I play in both a classical environment, where I play the French horn, and I play in a brass band, where I play tenor horn. I play in the brass band, Taverham Band. I've been playing there probably about 5 years, 6 years.
Get that?
No.
Now you do it.
Wasn't it much better, is it? I think everyone respects the fact we're all in it together, as the phrase goes. I think everyone, especially with music, everyone can have an opinion on how a piece should go, how fast it should be, how slow it should be, how it should be played. And I think there's a lot of respect and understanding that someone has to make that decision, which comes down to me. So it's actually having the confidence and the respect to make that decision. Could be the tiniest thing, but sometimes the tiniest things can have a big impact on people. But we make it fun. We all know we make mistakes, so we all make mistakes, and we accept that. And it's not the case of as you say, been a tyrant with anyone. It's a case of supporting everyone. Sometimes, you know, if deadlines are looming and things aren't going right, it can get a bit pressurised, a bit stressed, because, you know, time is of the essence. We have 2 hours a week rehearsal, and you just try and get everything done you possibly can. The good thing is that the band has high demand for concerts, so we're always up against deadlines to actually meet those commitments. So I'd rather be like that than you know, having nothing to work for, nothing to aim for, and just drifting along each week. So.
2-4 to the top.
Anything from Bach to Bacharach. Right, you know, we play modern musicals, we play brass band arrangements of some of Bach's toccata, Handel's water music, we've done that, and then everything in between. Great fun, and that's one of the pleasures of playing in the band, that you are playing such a variety of music.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Sometimes it's difficult. It's planning ahead, I think. It's one of the things the band does is it doesn't want to stay still. It looks to always have an up-to-date repertoire of music, and I spend a lot of time looking at the publications which are being produced for band. It's very easy to slip into habits of playing music which is it was popular many years ago. Some of it still is, and it's a mix of the two really. But I think a good example is with Christmas music. I always buy Christmas music a year in advance, because there's nothing worse than listening to Christmas music in the summer to to pick your programme for the following Christmas. So I tend to do that about a year in advance. So it's about planning ahead and thinking about what concerts we've got, what music do we want to be rehearsing, and then timetabling in to hit deadlines of what we need and when we need it by. So it's quite challenging.
And then the problem is please, Alright, and then
Yeah, mine is, yeah.
James at the other end, this side, James at the other end. Just swap round.
Oh, right. Oh.
No, you're all just slack.
Well, I can't really see them. Can you see it?
There, boys, boy, put it there.
Higher. I did say please.
Oh, you can just look at it.
That'll be alright.
Hi, George.
Thanks.
Coldsburg.
George, you need
So
to be
if you can find out the cards and then do some. Okay, here we go. Tips. Go, drums.
The conventional way that we would play would be for the cornets to be to the left of the conductor, probably the percussion behind them, the baritones and euphoniums to be on the right hand side of the conductor, and right in front would be the basses and the horns. It depends. There is no fixed seating plan, the same as there wouldn't be in an orchestra. It depends on the logistics of the venue.
I play drums in lots of other bands as well as this one, so I do that. But in the day, I'm a business trainer. I train people who are trying to start up their own business. I'm a teacher, but they're adults.
We regularly perform in Taverham, and that's key to the band's success. We have a great following from the local village. We support events such as the village fair and other community events in the village, and certainly we do 6 concerts a year in the village hall. We do another 2 in the church a year, so 8 concerts a year in the village, and they're all sell-out concerts, so there's great support. It is a hobby. The members, they get an instrument on free loan from the band, and obviously the music is supplied, but basically all their time, performances at concerts, and in most cases travel, is all paid for and covered by the individual themselves. So it is a hobby for members, but a rewarding hobby because of the payback you get from entertaining other people.
Yeah, definitely. But it's quite a serious thing to do, and it's a lot of effort, so you have to love it. Otherwise you wouldn't do it. Yeah. Wish I played the cornet.
Basically, the income from the band comes in about really 3 sources. One is our own concerts that we do, where we charge admission and etc. If the band is booked by an outside organisation, then we charge a nominal fee to cover our expenses. It costs about £10,000 a year to just run the band before buying any instruments and bits and pieces. Now, the insurance, room hire, all the various costs of equipment, they all add up. So concert income, income from bookings, and then also we are fortunate to have a few businesses who actually do sponsor the band. Small amounts comparatively to what some sponsorships you hear about, but it all makes a difference. And overall, in the course of the year, if we can get that support from the villagers who come and listen to us, and further afield, people who book the band, and then businesses who support the band, all that income is then used to cover the running costs, but also enable us to purchase instruments which then players can use, because there's, if you have a vacancy for a musician and you've got a person who can play an instrument but there's no instrument, it's worthless. So having instruments available for players is a great benefit, and the band's very lucky that over the years we have built up a great stock of instruments that we can make available to players.
I would see the band being much more tolerant of less able musicians than the orchestra. So, for example, if you were to apply to the band to, say, play the flugelhorn, you might be required to take an audition. You might be asked to provide evidence of your standard of playing. But if we had a space, then you would get in. If you weren't good enough to go into the main band, we've got a training band as well. And most of the people in that are real youngsters, aren't
people on grades, that's one area to look at, but that doesn't necessarily mean a person is good enough ability to actually play in a band. It's 2 different disciplines. One is an individual performance, working to a set syllabus, if you like, and the other is actually working together as a group. And often you find there are some people who could be qualified in terms of grade, but actually you can have better performers in a band who actually are at a lower standard. So it's just listening to each individual, assessing on either what they are able to do, or in some cases what they potentially could do, especially with the youngsters. And it's actually getting a mix. So the youngsters who are learning, they may not be quite ready yet, but we give them the exposure to the band to actually develop their skills, and in many cases it actually enhances and speeds up that development so they can become a very valuable member of the band. I'm just thinking of a couple of examples. One, Sam Mckeane, our trombone player, he joined the band when he was 9 years old, learning the cornet. He moved on to trombone, and 7 or 8 years later he's now an accomplished trombone player, grade 8 distinction, and looking for a career in music. So it's great to see those types of things where we've started a youngster off and they've actually wanting to take that on to further career in life.
So I'll go from the beginning. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Sam started having lessons, and of course then we started going along supporting Sam at concerts and things, and I was talking to Ian one day and said, well, I was sort of half thinking about coming back and self-playing, have you got a spare place where you could fit me in? And it just so happened one of the bass players was leaving the band, and so I sort of dropped in on the E-flat bass again, so I've been playing bass for the last sort of 7 or 8 years. And really that's how I got back into the band again, through supporting Sam really. And then Adele, you sort of thought about...
Well, Joe was having lessons.
Joe was having lessons.
And he wasn't getting on with them, was he?
Yeah, on cornet
and I had to ring and cancel the lessons, and I said to Sean on the spur of the moment, am I too old to have lessons? He said, no.
That's right, yeah. So you started having lessons, yeah. And then Chloe started. Well, you used to play the flute as well, didn't you? But you had some cornet lessons and joined the band as well. That's really how we've all got into it, really. Sort of, well, with Sam, really. Sort of Sam's fault. All I do sometimes is if we have a soundtrack, for instance, which helps us, that the soundtrack might be faster than what we may play in the band, slightly faster. But what I do is we give it to Joe and get Joe to slow it down a bit. And then what we can do is we keep practicing. That we'll probably do the soundtrack slower than what we actually play in the band, and it helps you, to sort of get the notation right. And then obviously then eventually when you can play it quicker, it all helps. So Joe does, does help with things like that. When we do our big Exploding Brass concert, Joe's down there for 2 or 3 days, and he's doing all sorts of jobs down there, aren't we?
You also do the door, take the tickets on the door of concerts, don't you? At Taverham Band. You are an active member. Sam's the one with talent, we just try.
Yeah, we just drag along behind.
You're roadies. Sam's a busy because you also play on a Monday, on a Wednesday night with another band, don't you? So
another big band, which is just all our rehearsal big band. You don't gig at all. So I'm out Monday night salsa band now, Tuesday night Taverham Band, Wednesday night I'll have piano lesson, and I'll usually go off to this jazz band, another big band, rehearsal big band. Thursday night is Jonathan Wyatt big band, and then Friday's sort of like my spare one really. And the odd Saturday or Sunday I'll have the KJB function band, and then gigs on top of that, which usually lie most weekends. So I usually have one a weekend, won't I? One a week sort of thing.
You're the busiest, whereas we just go out on a Tuesday night to Taverham Band, and the Taverham Band engagements, concerts. And
Quite a few of them a year, don't we?
We do have a lot of
Friday
them.
camp, jazz band.
Oh yeah, on Friday afternoons I go to the local high school and I help run the jazz band there, don't I, as well, yeah. The school jazz band, so that's Friday taken up as well.
I think the most complicated brasses might be a French horn, because there are some French horns that have 4 or 5 valves, and then of course you may be having to use all 5 simultaneously. The principle of brass instruments, whatever length of tube they are, is the same. The valves still do the same job. Remember, once you can play one brass instrument, you can basically play them all. Trombone is the most basic instrument, and there's nothing complicated about that.
When you started to play, Sam, you cried. You couldn't. You were good on cornet, and then you were so keen to get on trombone, and you were so tiny. The trombone was longer than you were, and I remember you playing it. It was one Christmas, and you said, "Play it, play it." I can't play it. And there were tears because you couldn't get the notes out. But
I said to her, so I'll just keep on at it for another couple of weeks, you know, and if you can't get it, then you go back onto the cornet. But he soldiered on with it, and he got the hang of it, and
Oh yeah, it did sort of come to me quite suddenly at the beginning, didn't it?
Yeah.
I did struggle. I really thought I was going to give it up. I think it's a long time ago, to be honest. And then suddenly the opportunity, that's it. I just started recently playing it, and then the opportunity to play in the local county youth jazz bands came up, and I went along to that with my teacher. And the first couple of times I absolutely hated it because I could barely play the trombone, and then that and Taverham Band together, I got really improved my playing, didn't it?
It's fantastic people, lovely people. I've known a lot of them for a long time, so we're all great friends. We've been on tour several times. We've been to Germany, we've been to Holland, we've been to Yorkshire several times as a group of people staying away together, and we just get on really well.
Well, a typical concert day is one thing, but I think it's the preparation beforehand. It's looking at a whole lot of facets. One is the ability of the band. We work the band on a mixed ability. We have a whole range of ages from 12 years old, and the oldest is 82. Ex-professional musicians and also youngsters who are wanting to learn, and we actually incorporate all those people in the band, and then from that we produce the best programme and concerts we can do. We do a lot of audience research. We find out the sorts of music that our audiences like, and we try to produce a mixed programme based on a variety of music for the audiences, but also a variety of difficulty with the band. So the youngsters who are learning have a certain amount of ability with music. They can play the music, but also other pieces which challenge the more advanced members as well. So it's keeping everyone challenged, if you like, which is often a difficult thing. At the same time, entertaining the audience. Our philosophy is that we want to entertain the audience, as we're not trying necessarily to educate people to become brass band fans, as it were, but we are, I think, in the entertainment business, if you like, and our job is to give enjoyment to the members, but also to the audiences as well.
We weren't sure. Have anyone seen it? No, haven't seen it. Has anyone seen Nick anyway? Anyone seen Nick?
campanologist.
That's right, yes, a campanologist I'm after. Birmingham.
And you've told me that I've got to avoid innuendo. Now, I thought that was the Italian for a suppository. And you've got to treat me very gently tonight, because my friend gave me an advanced Christmas present. It's this lovely stick deodorant. I looked at it and it said, unscrew the cap and push up bottom. Oh, I can hardly walk. Mind you, when I break wind, the room smells lovely.
So typically it's looking at the types of events that we've got, the types of concerts, the age range of the audience, and putting together programs, rehearsing those programs, and then presenting those programs at the concert itself, wherever that may be.
We will perhaps just get there up to half an hour before a concert, and I have very, very rarely heard the band tune, and there's actually a very good reason for that, and that's because once you get the slides on a brass instrument in exactly the right position, it's not as necessary to keep tuning them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've rehearsed every day for a year with the slides in a particular position. It's generally quite okay. Tune, but they'll just sit straight down in their seats and they will play the concert, and then we go down the pub. Very straightforward. If I'm playing a Beethoven Symphony, I might play for only 5% of the time. And that's because there are lots of passages in a piece of, like Beethoven, which is just for the strings only or for woodwind, and the brass instruments are only used now and again. In the brass band, tenor horns play all the time, so you get tired. And because I very rarely practice, going along is a bit like sight reading every time that I go. That's my practice.
We also have several people externally to the band who apply or request to see if they could join the band if there are vacancies. we do occasionally take people in if we have the space, but one of the good issues that we've got is that we have a very large band with high membership, so it's not often that we do get vacancies. The average time in the band for an over 18-year-old is 15 years, so there's a very low turnover. It's often for reasons of age creeping up on people, or work moving people away, or sometimes domestic, family responsibilities. So, but we try and accommodate both people musically, but also who we feel fit in the band and what the band wants to do. It's not just a case of being able to play an instrument, it's actually being part of a team, and that team is mucking in together and helping each other out and so on. And the band is a big family. We've known each other for a long time, and outside of band, it's part of your life.
It's very much a family thing. For a lot of people in the band is their social life, and you'll find that a lot of members of the band will they'll go out for a meal or to the pub during the week, not on a band night, but just for fun. They love fancy dress parties, so quite often one of the band will have a party and they'll all have fancy dress. I noticed on the board last time that one of the families in the band is going camping one weekend, and they've said, anybody else want to come along with us, and then we might do a little mini concert on the Saturday night that we're there.
Yeah.
So that they're making the band into a almost an extended family.
It's a great sort of, it's almost sort of, you see it as a family sort of in a way, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
So, yeah.
Especially for you, you're
grown up in it as well, haven't I?
I was going to say you're 16, not 16, you're nearly 18.
I'm nearly 18, so what?
And you joined when you were 7.
So it's 11 years I've been in it, which is a long time.
And most of those people were in the band then when you started.
They can remember me when I was that
you
tall.
were tiny.
Yeah. And so it's been nice.
I've got family in the band. My sister plays, my brother, my niece plays in the band recently, and my daughter's learning as well at the moment. She's in the training band. So over the years, on the programmes, you do see suddenly a batch of names all the same. Less obvious when they get married, some of them, especially the females, but there are several groups of family members in the band. Yeah.
I play the piano a bit, and then Ian was in the band, and I think all of my brothers were in the band at one point. And then I joined as well and learned to play an instrument. We used to learn to play at Taverham Middle School. I look forward to it, I get a bit nervous, because I've played different instruments. I used to play flugelhorn, and there's a lot more solos on flugelhorn, so I used to get quite nervous.
They all decided they wanted to learn their own instrument individually, and have progressed themselves. There was no forcing from anyone.
No, he was here before me. He's got older than me.
That was your hack signal, wasn't it? It's alive. Kill it. There. Right. Part 2 at C. Here we go. E flat. Here we go. Instruments up. Ready to play. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4.
If it's quite an easy piece, then I'm sort of like, well, I can play that okay. But if it's quite hard, I sort of think,
Panic.
yeah. Because like some of the notes, sort of like if there's like quite a lot of sharps in it, I might not know some of the notes, so I'm sort of like struggling with some of them. But
Yeah, Jake's coming on really well. When he first came, you know, he was I don't know, probably about 2 years ago. He had a little bit to learn, but he's now doing really well, and he's reading the music well, and he's got a good feel. You know, he knows how to do it, and he just gets better and better. He does sight read well, and he's getting, you know, getting very good at it. And I'll have to watch my step. I'll lose my seat.
Well, I joined when I was, I think, 13 as a player in the main band. So before that, it was just lessons at school and piano lessons. Really, I achieved grade 5 piano, achieved grade 5 piano and grade 5 cornet.
Ba ba ba, they go bum 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 bum, they go la la la, bum 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 bum, la la la. Let's have a bit more. Ba ba bum. There we go. It's about the fairies on the end of there dancing around. Here we go. Here we go. 1 2 1 2 1. Ba, ba, ba. Short. 1. Ba, ba, ba.
I work till I get home probably about 1 o'clock. Take the dog for a walk. Charlotte has an orchestra after school on a Tuesday as well, so I pick Charlotte up about 4 o'clock from Taverham High School, get home, have some tea, and then we both come up here for about 6:15 in the evening until we get home about 10 o'clock at night.
There's some of you still holding on for dear life on that note, okay? You don't get paid any extra on this bit before, okay? So C, please, nice and smooth. La la da dee da da da. Not necessarily sort of like, but don't do ta ta ta. Da 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 dee da 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 da.
I mean, I've seen a few conductors through the years, and some of them are really quite strict and firm, but he brings a bit of humour into it, and I don't think the young ones stay around long if it was too strict and too firm.
There's a key change, but you just can't have any old key. You've got to be the right one. Okay. Let's go from B, please. From B, what does sost mean? The cornets have got sost. S-O-S-T. What does it mean? Type of disease? It might be, but I haven't come across a type of disease. Why? Tell me more. Tickets at table. Right.
Yeah, he's a good conductor.
I want staccato. Tap, tap, tap. We'll do it. Bap, bap. Shoulder. The accent. Tap, tap. Okay. There we go. Short accent. Tap, tap. There we go. Okay. 1 2 3 4.
Yeah, he's nice.
Da 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 da. Underneath we've got da 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 da. Tap 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 tap. So like the TARDIS landing, right? Da da da.
He's your uncle, isn't he? Yeah. He has his moments, but he has to at pops at times.
I'll quite happily speed up and play even faster for you, but please speak it to me. Right, A, okay,
Sometimes people within the band will change instruments, and they will take an instrument and then practice behind the scenes for some time. You know, typically the biggest difference will be the size of the instrument, but also if you're moving from a valve instrument to a trombone or vice versa, which is a different technique. But generally, youngsters or even adults have come in through the training band. We do lessons as well as a training band, so we have had adults as well who've perhaps retired and want to take up a new hobby. And again, you'll see some of those people who are playing in the band.
You've seen a gentleman in the training band who is, goodness knows, 70s. There's one gentleman there who's there because he wants to be in a band at that level.
I thoroughly enjoy it. I mean, I've always been working with kids, either with the scout group, which I'm involved with, and the band, the music, but then having youngsters in the music as well is a combination of two things. I think I look back to think I've been very lucky in the enjoyment I've got from music. It's something which I didn't really at school think would have such an impact. I didn't study music at school at exam level. I just basically learned the piano and learned the cornet. So I've got no qualifications as such in music. But it's the love of music, but also the love of what you can do with music. And I think to be able to entertain other people, to give that experience to youngsters is something which can last for the whole your whole life. It's basically just looking at each individual. And I think it's a lot to do with confidence as well. Again, some youngsters, if you're bringing them through, will find it quite daunting. The experience of being in a big band. Some will relish it, and it's actually getting the right timing for people. Sometimes earlier is better, sometimes later is better.
Also want to welcome for the first concert, progressing from the training band. Where's Charlotte? Stand up, Charlotte. I'll give Charlotte a round of applause. I see you've got the mate who made your jacket on there, Charlotte. Is that one of Rob's old ones you've got on there? Nice to see. Well done, Charlotte.
He's great. He's good. I mean, he knows what he's doing. And that's what he doesn't get. He doesn't get really angry with people if they make a mistake. He tells people that they've got it wrong, and it's a nice way to learn.
Yeah.
But yet his standards are very high, so you try and play to the best of your ability all the time because he drives you to do that.
H. You're behind the melody. The melody starts off in the front bar behind, right? It's 3 beats of the bar, 3 clocks in the bar, occasional million stops in the bar. H.
As a conductor, he's very astute at knowing where people need help, I always think, because, if I have bits I'll struggle with, or I know I need a beat, or I need him to bring me in or something, he soon gets to know that. And he'll always remember that, I've got some bits where I know I need bringing in, and I'll be looking at him, waiting, and he'll always remember things like that. And other players as well. He's very, observant.
Yeah, pretty much. He's quite a unique character in it. He just puts so much effort and work into the band. Without him, it probably wouldn't be anything like it is.
Did you ever see the Muppet Show? Watch the Muppet Show, right? C! That's your task this week, your homework is to watch the Muppet Show. Right? You watch EastEnders a few months ago, watch the Muppet Show. I'm sure you can catch it on YouTube.
The thing that we have in the brass band concerts is, of course, Ian Coleman telling lots of jokes. And some of the jokes, we've all heard before, so we find them a bit wearing. In a classical music concert, because you don't get that.
He does have like a double personality almost. Ian can be normal and suddenly puts his white jacket on at a concert and he goes into Mr. Concert mode, and he really pulls jokes out of the hat, and the audience, well, it's not just a brass band show they're getting a full evening's entertainment, they're getting a comedian thrown in as well.
I'm going to give you some tablets, and I'm all dosed up, and it says, read the instructions before taking your medicine. I mean, did you ever see anything like it? By the time you got to the end, you've forgotten what was wrong with you. I tell you what, there's everything, the side effects of these drugs are every single thing apart from what you've got wrong.
And he works well with the audience, and he weighs up the audience on what they're looking for. He'll try his hardest to make the whole evening a good show, and interacting with the audience fantastically, and that bounces from the audience back to the band. If we feel Ian and the audience are giving us good feedback, we play better.
Larry, how are you? Right? Good evening. What have you got there? Oh, we also welcome to George Parker, who's here despite being 111. What? Oh, he's ill. Oh, sorry. Thanks, Jim. Cheers.
Absolutely. There aren't many we hear for the first time.
He does it every concert, he just pulls out the jokes, doesn't he?
Some repeated.
Yeah, most of them are, the band will hear them a few times.
Some we send to him. If you get sent one on the computer, you'll email it over to him, and so will other people. Some we generally don't hear until the concert.
He finds them on the internet. Sometimes people in the band will let him have a joke. I've done it myself. I think what the intention is, because in a brass band you're playing much more intensively, you do need to just have a little breather in between each number. So that's what it's really designed for. Some evenings I come home and I'm,
He's my brothers.
The Middle East crisis, all that going on over there. What to do? There's a new crisis erupted last night as the Dubai television was refused permission to broadcast the Flintstones. A spokesman for the channel said, a claim was made that people in Dubai would understand the humour, but we know for a fact that people in Abu Dhabi do.
terrible, some of them. Terrible. But then people say the same about my jokes.
I just think they try and put on concerts that with a big selection of music that everyone's going to like. Everyone's going to find something they like. And Ian adds a lot of humour into it as well at the concerts. He's very good at, and that's all part of the experience. It goes beyond the music, and people can come along and feel they've had a really pleasurable experience. And the music is, hopefully Ian picks the music that they love as well. Great value. Buy tickets, everybody.
With our Exploding Brass concert, you feel 3,000 people in an audience, and there are very, very few people, young or old, who ever get the chance to perform in front of that number of people, and it's a great honour to be able to give people that experience, because it's something that you'll never forget.
I think I don't want to be big-headed about this, but I think I'm one of the better players in the band, and that's shown because Ian does give me a lot of the, quite a lot of solos. He's let me play. He's let me play solo 2 times running in the Exploding Brass. Playing a solo in front of 3,000 people is no easy thing. It's quite tough, and I'm really pleased I have lots of solos to do, because that's what I like in the band. And sometimes the band, the trombone parts can be fairly easygoing and stuff. I don't mind. I really enjoy it, but I like to be challenged in the band, and there have been, over the past few years, there has been challenges, and doing so is always nice. But no, I just really, sorry, I really love playing the band. And
probably for Sam, it's been a bigger thing, because Sam's really, you've worked so hard at it over the years, haven't you? And done, a lot of solo work, and Ian's always supported Sam, and an absolute 100% all the way. I mean, Sam's had solos nearly every year since you've been on trombone, haven't you?
Yeah.
Concerts, you know, Ian's had, you know, fantastic faith in Sam and given him some big opportunities, really. You know, I like to think Sam's never let him down. You've always played well under pressure, and Ian's, I suppose he's rewarded him with giving him more solo work to do, you know. So, and that's been, you know, it's been a big thing for us, you know. I mean, you know, watching him, you know, do the solo work and things.
Ian gave me my first solo. I was 10 years old and hadn't been in the. I'd only recently moved on to the trombone from the cornet. So I was having lessons from 7. I think I went in the band when I was about 9. And I swapped quickly from cornet to the trombone because I like the look of trombone. And then within about half a year, Ian gave me this solo to play. And
Hold it up, so.
a song called Danny Boy, which is quite a well-known song. You can see how young I am there. It's sort of
He's only 10 years old there.
10 years old.
That's the programme from the concert and the music that he played. And a photograph of it.
We got it framed because it's, you know, the first solo.
Well, it's a proud moment for us, so we got this framed for Sam.
I did it 2 nights running, the solo, and yeah, it's
You were 10.
I was 10, so it's something. It's just something that I'll always stick in my head. I think stick in my
This
brain.
lives in the dining room.
We hang this in the dining room so we can see when we're eating. Yeah, I've got my little shrine in the dining room.
Every 2 years we do our Exploding Brass concert, which has an audience of about 3,000 people. A good number come from Taverham or the local area, and again it's a great tribute to everyone involved, that, you know, a village band can attract that sort of support.
With our main concert, our big one called Exploding Brass, which is coming up this summer, we will be taking pieces apart in much more detail than we normally do. I think there's a greater incentive to actually get it really right. I think the thing that strikes you first is how professional it is. I'm not talking about the band, I'm now talking about the whole piece. The band themselves put it all together, so we start on about the Thursday by setting up barriers to control where the public can go, setting up marquees for where the barbecue is going to be and where the beer is going to be, setting up other stands which are necessary, putting up hospitality tents, and gradually it goes from just being an ordinary field into being like a village ready for the concert. The public start to arrive at about 5 o'clock in the evening. They bring with them all their picnics, what have you. Obviously car parking for an event like that is quite significant. During the day they will have been assembling all of the fireworks ready for the pieces for which we do synchronised playing. The public starts to arrive, setting up their picnic tables, and some of them go to quite extremes by bringing in proper tables with candelabra and champagne and everything else. And probably by about 6 o'clock, 6:30, the second act will start warming the crowd up. Now, in recent years we've had a jazz band, and people will get up and dance if they want to, but most of them just finishing off their meal. Then the band comes on, does half of this programme, then the jazz set will take over in the interval, which might be 3/4 of an hour now. Then the band, by this time it's getting dark of course, the band will do its second half with the synchronised fireworks. It's quite an event. Big fireworks. But again, you see, I'd mentioned that the band is quite a social animal. A lot of the members of the band will take tents to the Exploding Brass site, and they will stay in the tents on the Friday night before the concert, and on site after the concert on the Saturday night. And they have barbecues and they have drinks and they have a wonderful time. It's too much fun.
Yeah, I do get a lot of help. There's a lot of help behind the scenes. You know, what people see, you know, on a Tuesday night is just part of it. We have a committee of members. The training band we have, where there's several adults who support that on the night to help the youngsters. With the main band, again, there's a committee of people who look after the administration of the band as well. So there's a good team working behind the scenes to keep things going. Tell me if I'm going the wrong way, and and otherwise if things are going well as well.
You'll see other members of the band, like myself, who actually go there to help and provide tuition for the kids and support them. I bring my French horn along to that because there's one young lady who chooses to play the French horn. She doesn't want to play the tenor horn, so I help her with her part. She's only been playing about 6 months, and she's very, very good despite that. And you've probably noticed as well that periodically I will stand up and I will go around and help other desks.
Yeah.
So I might help the trombone or the baritone or the...
Yeah, she's one of them, and again they give their own time up to come and support to support what we do, and they do it because they enjoy doing it. So, and you know, there's no pressure on people. That all the people who help have, you know, offered to help and given up the time to do so. So it just helps to break it down a bit.
Brilliant. I'm a great believer in putting value back into things where I've derived value in my life, and that's one area where I can help.
We also, on a wider scale, we raise money from concerts for various charities. We elect a charity each year and donate money to a particular charity, so that gets involvement and a bit of, you know, sort of team spirit between, you know, a charity perhaps outside of the village, but then bringing that village together.
Each year the band will identify a charity it wants to support for the current year, and then there are predetermined concerts where we will raise money just for them, and it's around about £3,000 that the charity gets from a year with us.
We're probably a bit different in our band in that we don't contest, we don't enter competitions. So some other local bands, they do enter competitions, and the pressure on them must be immense, and if you've got someone who continually plays a bit wrong, that must be annoying for the other players, thinking, oh, we're going to lose this contest, it's because of the horn player or whatever. Whereas we don't have that. All right, yeah, we might not have the highest standard of players as other local bands do, but for that reason we're a happier band socially. You know, there's no great pressure on us. Yes, we want to do well for Ian and for the band, but we don't feel under undue pressure, and I don't think you get the backstabbing between the players that you perhaps might get elsewhere.
That's where you actually do regular competitions to determine which league you're in. It's like football. So you might be in the second division and so on and so forth. We don't do that. We just play for pleasure. And if we give the audience a lot of pleasure at the same time, then, you know, that's what it's about, isn't it?
Ian always makes a point of saying that Taverham Band is not about wholeheartedly being the best players, and he wouldn't throw anybody out for playing wrong notes. And he wants everyone to be happy, and he's proud of that achievement. He's proud that people in the band are happy and they like him and they like his ethos and the way he makes things fun, and he helps us along at rehearsals.
In the band it's very relaxed. Yeah. People chat too much. We chat between, even when he's just rehearsing the corners, you know, the horns and the trombones will share a joke. You know, it's very relaxed. It's like a bunch of friends getting together for their own enjoyment, rather than specifically to set up a concert for public performance.
It's really nice. It does bring us closer. We all have that shared interest, and you know, it's nice getting ready together and ironing shirts. I end up ironing everyone's white shirt, and who's got the ties and ironing everything. So yeah, it's nice, and we do go out a lot. We have a lot of engagements every year. Especially Christmas time, we're out every night nearly at Christmas
It's
time.
handy for me and Chloe because we've got someone to shepherd us about and tell us what to do.
The trouble is we're always late because there's 5 of us to get ready, and we sometimes get there and we've forgot someone's pad, and
It's always
Ian will say, "How can you forget the pad?" I said, "Well, there's 5 of us, there's 5 pads to get in the car and 5 stands. It's very easy. If it's just one person, you've only got yourself to worry about. You're not going to forget things. But I assume you've done it, you assume I've done it, we assume Sam's got his things, and it is easy to forget we've left something at home."
And it's nice to have something to talk about. You know, we'll be coming back from a concert or something, and we can talk about how it went and stuff, can't we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
It's very nice to have a common interest to talk about and discuss as well.
Yeah, like last night the band practice wasn't the best one, but there were some funny moments and we could all talk about it, and we tell you, Joe, and you know who we're talking about, and you join in the conversation. Yeah, it's lovely to have that shared interest.
Socially, it's nice because, as you can see, there's all age ranges from, you're probably the youngest, yeah, from 11 to 80.
And they talk football all the time. I follow our local team, but some of the others in the band, you may have noticed that on a night when Norwich City is playing at home, there's a big gap in the band. If you put their loyalty to the test, I think the band would win.
Yeah.
But if we're in between concerts and they think they can have a night off, they'll go to football, including the conductor. You didn't know that?
No idea, no.
It's just a lovely atmosphere. Everyone's so nice, and it's not. Nobody's. If you make a mistake, it doesn't matter. It's just nobody gets angry, or it's just a very nice place to play. Nice and relaxing. Good social life.
The band is very transparent. You know, what you see is what it is. It's a bunch of people getting together to have a fun night. People from all different backgrounds. I mean, we have solicitors, we have managers, we have agricultural people, you know, just housewives, retired people. It's a great group of people.
Well, obviously, you know, going from strength to strength, really. I mean, I think we've got, you know, it's got the right recipe, really. You know, just like to continue as it is. That's going to change slightly for us in the next 3 or 4 years, with Sam probably not being about so much. But I'd like to think that even if he's away at university, you know, for the odd concerts, he can get back for weekends and come and play still. You know, because that's been, you know, it's been a big part really in supporting Sam. Although saying that, obviously Chloe's in the band now. You know, and hopefully she'll carry on and enjoy it. But
One of our youngsters who started in the band many years ago was Sam on the trombone. Sam? And he's started over the cornet when he was about 9, and now he's a grade 8 distinction trombone, and he's off, hopefully, fingers crossed, he's off after the summer. We're going to lose him. He's going to go and study music professionally and do it all properly. But it's great to see that we've got youngsters who started in the band and actually going to take it further into a career and study music. And so tonight will be one of his last concerts. Well, not quite my way. Trains come back, don't they? And he celebrated his 18th birthday this week. Yeah. And he said if you all go down the Silver Fox afterwards, he'll buy you all a drink.
I think hope for brass bands in general. I think there's increasing pressure with school funding to keep music going. I think it'll be a challenge, as it always has been moving forward. I just like to think from our point of view at Taverham that we can do all we can as an organisation to do our bit for youngsters, which is why we're working as close as we can with the local schools, with having instruments available. And really just giving as many children the opportunity who want to have the opportunity to learn learn a brass instrument. So the music and the brass band music will continue for a long time to come.
yeah,
hopefully the band will continue and go from strength to strength. Obviously new players will come
That's
in.
right. Yeah.
Your spot will need to be filled.
I just say when I go to university, all three of you will stay in the band.
Oh yeah.
Of
And
course.
so I just hope I don't come back and then you've all left or something.
No.
Maybe a fourth, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be a trombone in the cupboard, Joe, waiting
Yeah.
for you to learn how to use it.
You get a tricky bit at high school where it's not cool to play an instrument, so if she gets through that, she'll be fine. I just hope she continues with it and enjoys it, because it's just a break from everything else coming here. You switch off from everything else, which is why it's nice coming here as well.
Well, what I'd like to see, from my point of view, I think to have the band in as strong a position as possible in terms of membership, in terms of the assets the band owns, in terms of potential moving forward, so there's a good pool of youngsters learning. I think that's where me personally would like to see the band. So if I was to suddenly disappear off this planet tomorrow, I could be confident that I've done all I can to leave the band in good shape, moving forward. Obviously I hope that doesn't happen, but I think if we can continue to do that, get the balance right, a steady stream of youngsters learning, some of them will become good enough to progress in the band. That will in turn increase the standard of the band. The higher standard of the band means the range of music you can play is bigger, and it just makes the whole experience bigger and better all the time.
They all work very, very, very hard, and they thoroughly enjoy themselves. But would you give a big thank you, please, to the people behind me, the Taverham Band. Thank you. One, two, 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 1, 2, 3.